Hello, hello.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah.
I think we should just kick this off right away with.
Just jump on in.
Yeah, we should jump right in. Let's jump right into addiction.
Hell yeah.
I think that's just a great thing to talk about. So many people suffer from so many different versions of it, and those of us that aren't addicted, wink, wink, quote, quote, air quotes. We have I think all of us have a hard time admitting when something's got a hold of us in a way, whether it's our coffee or our kratom or our alcohol, pornography, whatever it might be. There might be some shame around it. There might be things that you just don't feel good or comfortable about. I don't have a problem with drinking. I only drink a couple times a week. I only drink a couple times a month. Oh, I've only blacked out a few times from that, or whatever the thing is. You have like some sort of excuse to protect you from it. What has been your experience with addiction over the years?
So I was Captain Denial. First, I'll tell you that I'm almost 17 years clean and sober. July 14, 2006 was my sobriety date. And, Mark, I could justify and rationalize anything. 2 glasses of wine a day is good for your heart. And dude, I used to love Flex Magazine, Muscle and Fitness. Every endorsement spoke to me like, well, if he's doing it, then I'm totally fine doing it. To get honest is probably the hardest part for anybody in addiction. It's really, really, we were talking about that this morning together. Yep. It's really difficult to get honest about what's really going on inside your heart, inside your mind, and really looking at the consequences, or at least just what life is showing you are the results of your choices. Because we can justify and rationalize anything. So I'm telling you right now, I was Captain Denial. I was the guy. This is just to show you how crazy I am. I was the guy that when I'm in a treatment center, I had a counselor look at me and goes, so do you think your life is unmanageable? And I'm sitting there like taking stock of my life. Like, well, I just got the car, just got a big order from Victoria's Secrets. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy and slams on the table. He's like, Adam, you're in rehab. Mm-hmm. That's me. I can't even tell you that my life's unmanageable while I'm in a rehab center with a counselor. That's the kind of denial I have.
And you say 17 years clean and sober. Clean and sober from what?
So alcohol, I'll use some like recovery language. So alcohol was my drug of choice, right? Meaning it was my baby. It was my bop. I had alcohol with everything. But at the end, Xanax, Ambien, Oxycontin, Percocet, Darvocet, uppers, downers, laughers, screamers. I mean, you name it.
And what did your alcoholism look like? Because I think right now there's a lot of people that drink, and they are very much attached to their drinking, but there seems to be this divide. People love to have this line, I'm not an alcoholic, so therefore I don't have a problem. Like, how do we know we have a problem? And should we demonize that word alcoholic? Should we be looking at it, in a real negative context, or is it something to just kind of examine? Like maybe I do have some alcoholism.
I think it's just good to I think it's good to be open, to not demonize that label. Look, alcoholism is now considered a disease. Now, people will debate about that all day long. Is it a disease? As of right now, the medical community says you need to be 4 things to be a disease. You need to be progressive, you need to be fatal, you need to be chronic, and you need to be primary. Alcoholism and addiction happens to fit all 4 of those modules. But to actually really admit that you have an alcohol problem, or you're abusing alcohol, or you're an alcoholic, it's an internal admittance. Now, what's great is if you have somebody, like, look how close you guys are and the family that you guys have built here. I was really taken back at just how much harmony is in the building. If Nsima is in denial, but you have everybody sitting around him saying, look, last Friday you fell asleep at the wheel, and do you remember the other night you called, you have no idea what you said, you don't remember, and you got in a fight with your girl. And if there's enough evidence, hopefully you can crack through that denial that someone has, that they could actually go, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem. And then, let the healing begin.
For you, did alcoholism look like anything in particular, or were you just getting like hammered every night, or?
I mean, Mark, I was a maniac. It depended on the night. It totally depended upon the night. So I was a work hard, play hard kind of guy, right? Which was a great justification. Plus, if I can keep the body looking a certain way, if I could stay charismatic on my game, if I can bring home the money, if I could show up to the baseball games and be a good dad, then who are you to tell me that I have a problem? That was my defense mechanism. But at the end, it was, I would wait for my ex-wife to go to sleep and I would just pound him. And I'm talking about sometimes I would drive home, pick up a 6-pack of Coors Light, slam that on the way home. So 6 beers, then rinse my mouth out with Listerine, chew gum, pretend like she didn't smell it, and then wait for her to go to sleep. And then who knows how much I would drink. Wake up the next morning at 5 a.m, take coffee and ephedrine, sweat it out, right? My heart's pounding out of my freaking chest. Sweat it out, and then take Xanax and Pepsid AC all day because I need to calm down. And my stomach was just torn apart from all the booze. And at the end, guys, I was living on nothing but bodybuilding supplements. It's the only thing that my body could break down. I couldn't break down real food because I was taking so I was, this is 2006, but Metrics bars and I mean, you name it, like all the old stuff I was living on this stuff, and I was living on shakes because it's the only thing that my body could break down, but I need to keep the illusion up, and drinking like a sailor and popping pills all day long.
Damn.
When did you start hiding that? Like you mentioned that, you drink before you got home so your ex-wife didn't necessarily see. How soon into your drinking habit did hiding become a part of it?
Pretty early. So I would say when I met my ex-wife, she was the one that kind of showed this is not normal. This is not normal behavior. And I didn't want to lose her, but I wasn't ready to be honest and take a look at this. And that's when the hiding started. So I would say probably 5 years before I got clean and sober is when I really started to hide things. I mean, I was the guy that I would drink the beer in the fridge and fill it because she wasn't a drinker, and I would fill it up with water. Just anything to get away, guys, anything to get away with it.
Yeah.
Anything to get away with it.
And do you think you were getting away with it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I never really thought I was an alcoholic. I thought an alcoholic I thought an addict was Chris Rock in New Jack City. Remember that movie? Right? That's an addict. And I thought an alcoholic was a bum on the street, unshaved, stinky, holding a bottle, with a paper bag over it, mumbling to himself, petting a cat that's not there. That was my definition of an alcoholic.
But you were high functioning.
Exactly. There's no way I'm an alcoholic. Do I party hard? I mean, you could add so right? Work hard, play hard. I party hard. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. All this nonsense just to justify my behavior. And as I got more successful, it's very interesting. The people you tend to find your circle. Everyone I knew was drinking and partying hard. It was kind of like their release where we do this. Drinking was their way of justifying their existence and their success. So when you're surrounded by that, it's just confirming to you that you're doing the right things. Like, this is how we're supposed to celebrate our success. It's got to be Apollo Patron.
By the way, how early did drinking start for you?
Really early. So drinking kind of goes into my story in which even my body transformation. So when I grew up the fat kid, I was the heavy kid. My dad, who I love, and we're tight as could be, he used to call me El Chubbo, not meaning to hurt me. You know what I mean? I'm a kid in Jersey in the 80s. He wasn't trying to hurt my feelings or anything. When I was growing up, a movie called...
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's hella funny.
El Chubbo. Here's El Chubbo. And there was a movie growing up called The Goonies, and there would be this kid called Chunk Shuffle, and they would ask me to do... And it bothered me deep down. And the reason I'm bringing that up is when I moved down to Florida, I made this quick shift into I am so sick of looking like this. I'm sick of it. And I saw Stallone in Rocky 3, right? And I
Shredded.
And I remember thinking, guys, if I could look like that, all my problems would go away. Like everything I feel, like, so that was the goal. Sylvester Stallone and Rocky 3, and my mom would buy me Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness, and in 4 short years, I went from being the fattest kid in the class to the best built kid in the class. I went from, yo, Adam, how many Oreos did you eat last night? To, hey man, how much can you bench? The girls liked me, but with the muscles also came, as you guys know, a different skill set. So I was able to hang out with the older kids.
Yeah.
The older kids were already experimenting. You know what I mean? I probably had my first real drink, like, oh, I can't wait to actually try this and have fun. Not like sipping wine at a bar mitzvah, or like, not that. Like, I can't wait, probably around 14.
Whoa.
And it fixed something inside of me that I didn't know was broken. It fixed it, right? So now, all those insecurities, all those fears, the class clown, make you laugh with me instead of at me. That guy left, and I was still sweet, but a confident guy came out. And now my insides matched my outsides. The outsides looked like a part, you know, like, oh, he's a good looking guy, he's got a body. But insides, I felt I was insecure. When I drank, all the insecurities went away. So I would have to say 14, 15, it was when I really like enjoyed it. Went to, was the first one in my high school to get a fake driver's license from Delaware. It was terrible, but it worked. Went to Arizona State University because Playboy and Penthouse magazine said it was the #1 party school in the world, which it was. And I dominated there. So it was like, it kind of all went hand in hand.
Did you recognize that maybe your reaction to alcohol was different? Like looking back at it now, do you believe that your reaction and the way alcohol felt to you when you were 14, 15, do you think it like sat with you different, hit you differently than it hits other people?
At that age, I would just say the only thing that was different about me was I didn't know when to say when. But it looked like we were all having a great time. It looked like it was affecting me the same way if it was the 3 of us. But like at 1 o'clock, let's say you guys would say, okay, it's a night. And I was like, what do you mean? Like there's still plenty of booze, and you know, where do you have to go? Like, so that would be the one thing that I would say was different with me. I didn't know when to call it.
Do you feel like you had a higher tolerance than some people? There was a friend of mine from college who could just go shot for shot for shot for shot, and he'd be 15, 18 shots deep, and people would be done, and he'd be like, I'm still good. Were you like that kind of guy?
I definitely drank competitively. I mean, I don't want to make it seem like I would have beaten him, but at the same time, there was a little machoism to it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. I just felt more comfortable drunk, guys, and I felt. Remember the thing we were talking about? I mean, we'll get into the podcast about that touchy-feely, you know, worried about. Well, other people tended to start opening up when they were drunk. So I started feeling even more comfortable around them because normally when I meet them, there's a wall up, you know, and I'm like this sensitive guy that wants to see how you're feeling and how everything's doing. And now I could finally talk to the real person because they had a couple of drinks and they're ready to talk like a normal person. I'm really bad with small talk, even to this day. You know, I could talk about the Jets and you know what I mean? Like, I get it. You know, we could talk about LeBron, but at the end of the day, like, I really want to know the person.
Yeah. And it kind of sounds like, I'm wondering for you, when did the alcoholism start becoming something that was actually affecting your life negatively? Because from the way you make it sound, right? You're successful, you're making money. I don't know what your job was prior, but you seem to, again, be high functioning. Everything was working well. So why did you end up going to rehab? What spurred that for you?
It's a great question. So one of the things I didn't mention were my hangovers were legendary. You know, my body was getting sick. There's no doubt about that. And I was covering it up with success and running the family business. And we were, the #1 lace manufacturer in the world, like Victoria's Secrets, La Perla, Hanky Panky.
Oh.
Yeah, we were the #1. And it was a family business. I was 3rd generation. I was telling Mark this morning. I had 2 really big shadows to fill out. We were talking like, you know, my grandfather who really started the business, he was Joe Montana. And then my dad came in and he was Tom Brady. You know what I mean? And I didn't know how I was going to live up to these 2 icons. what led up to the intervention and the drinking is, what we're not talking about was my behavior when I would drink, how I was acting, with my ex-wife. I mean, never physically abusive, but I mean, I was full of shit. So eventually when I was drinking, I would let that anger out, and I would just had it. And then not just that, but when I was drinking, I was getting sloppy. Then I'm hungover the next day. I'm not feeling well. I'm constantly taking before, saunas and steams were like, now it's like, if you don't sauna, steam, and do a cold plunge, you have no idea how to be fit. You know what I mean? Like, I swear, but I was, sauna every day just to sweat the toxins out. And see, what I wasn't mentioning was I was getting more miserable. I just didn't see what life was all about, and I just wanted that next drink. Mm-hmm. Everything was planned around, how we'll plan our lives around our workout. What's important to us? Everything was planned around drinking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't drinking, I had to squeeze its way in. I had to plan, so I had to have it everywhere. I would have it hidden over here. I mean, it became an all-consuming job.
And then I'm just curious too about the escalation to the Xanax and other stuff that you're mentioning. When did that stuff start coming into the picture?
Okay, so I started taking Xanax because my ex-wife hated my drinking. And there was no way that I could get through life without drinking. You know what I mean? Like that was my baba, that was my coping mechanism. But when I found Xanax, oh hey, that kind of gives you a nice little sedated feel. And with the way my body is wired and with my addictive habits, I started popping Xanax like Tic Tacs. I found OxyContin, Percocet, and Darvocet from when I tore my ACL. And I never thought I was a pain addict, but once you start getting those things in you, then I started taking that stuff so I don't feel my injuries in the gym. And back in the day, you take like a little No Explode and a couple of Percocets, and I'm telling you, great workouts.
Wow.
I was crazy. And then after, my heart would be pounding out of my chest, so I would take a Xanax. You have to remember, in the morning, I'm taking coffee and ephedrine to sweat it out. Being an alcoholic and an addict and somebody that wants to appear fit and be highly functional was an all-consuming, torturous job. With no spirituality, mind you. I hope that comes into the show. No spirituality, no higher power, no really, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose? Just, how do I get through the next day to the next one?
Pat Project family, how's it going? Now, we talk about meat a lot on this podcast, which is why we've partnered with Piedmontese and have for years now, because they have some of the best beef on the planet. All right, Piedmontese beef has cuts that are fattier in terms of their ribeyes, and they have also cuts that are leaner in terms of their flat irons, but you can get cuts for no matter what diet you're on. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yeah, head over to Piedmontese.com. That's Piedmontese.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER for 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
You went to a rehab center, and was that first go of it, was that successful?
Yeah. I got blessed in that department. Now, I didn't know anything about recovery, guys. So this whole thing was a foreign concept. But I had the most torturous 10 days in treatment, the first 10 days. And I thought I had, in my intervention, let me explain it this way. In my intervention, my interventionist was like, he lights up when he sees that I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to go to rehab. And when he mentions 28 days, I freaked out. I was like, 28 days? Like, imagine I'm telling you you're leave for 28 days in the middle of the day out of your life. Like, where am I going to go where are we going to tell people that I am for 28 days? How am I going to vanish? And my family was very concerned, very worried. And they were like, listen, we got it all covered. Don't worry. We got, we'll say you went to New Hampshire to work at the family business there, or you just had a child and you spent time. So they had all the excuses covered for me. And it's very healthy for me to admit, think about this. Everyone that I love has now intervened in my life, and I'm still worried about what other people are thinking about me.
Yeah.
Just so you could see where my mind is at. The 28 days is not sitting well with me. And finally he goes, okay, what about 10 days? How about 10 days to see if you even have this thing? And I was like, 10 days I can do. And I went in with this idea that I was going to be the most dedicated, disciplined rehab patient they've ever seen. And they'll see within a few days, there's nothing wrong with this guy. It's obviously his family. It's the pressures of the family business. It's the stress. Like, there's no way this guy has a problem. And that was the way I went in. Like, nobody's going to outwork me in rehab.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, and everything I was being taught was backfiring on me. You know, things like there was a poster, Mark. There was a poster with make the appropriate face with the appropriate emotion. Here's happy with a smiley face. Here's a frown for sad. Here's a weird one for confused. I was always smiling. You know what I mean? I would smile at you when I wanted to kill you. I would smile at you when I was depressed. I was always, you know what I mean? I was full of shit. So obviously a lot
That's
of
scary.
alcoholics and addicts, right? And this poster wasn't made for me.
Uh-huh.
So obviously a lot of alcoholics and addicts have a problem with honesty and showing the proper emotion at the proper time. So there was that. There's a couple of stories that I could take you through which really opened me up spiritually. You know, really was, and I started realizing that I was just like all of these guys there. And the reason I'm bringing that up is within those 10 days, I had a panic attack that now I know was a true spiritual experience, but something in me died, guys. And that feeling, I sent my blood pressure over 180, like something in me died. And a part of me was reborn. And I didn't know if that part of me had to wear a yarmulke, if I had to be baptized, if I had to make a vow of poverty. I didn't know what this guy looked like, but I knew he was sober. When I jumped in with both feet into that guy, I never looked back. And that's why I think it worked the first time. I truly had a spiritual transformation from within rather than trying to modify my behavior.
Yeah.
Do you think some of that was maybe amplified by sharing your story? Because I know like a lot of times in rehab or in AA meetings, you are just letting go of the things that you've done and the things that you are and your behaviors and stuff like that. You think that had a huge impact on?
Huge impact. I mean, sharing your story and then relating to somebody else, listening to somebody else and realizing you're not that different. You're not that unusual. Other people feel this way.
And then hearing that other people are worse is probably helpful. My brother's kind of mentioned like somebody will go and he's like, okay, I feel fine about saying what I'm about to say because that was fucking wild.
I was just talking to your brother. It was like two old friends that just found each other, you know, because we speak the same language.
Yeah.
But there's that. And also, guys, what they were teaching me was how to be human and how to actually really live. And everything that I learned there, it just hit my heart so much. Like, you have to understand, I had become into such a fraud. You know, I really thought life was about what I showed you on the outside. Mm-hmm. So it was the car and it was the success and it was the money and it was how the body looked and it was how I sounded and it was how beautiful my wife is. And it was like that. Forget about actually being there for my daughter. Was I the dad that looked like he was there for his daughter? Everything was everyone's opinion of me. I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. I wasn't there. So something was happening to me, Mark, like you were saying in this story, that I became part of like the human race again. I became part of something really, really enriching. And I became fully alive rather than a man half dead. And it's brought me to this point right now.
In the world that we're in right now, it seems like a lot of, particularly young men, are very confused about kind of like what they want to be, how they want to be it. There's a lot of maybe undue social pressures that people put on themselves via social media. They're not sure, but they want to try to become something, but they're not sure kind of how to get there. Do you think that some of the things that you learned in rehab would be beneficial? And is that some of the stuff that you're trying to teach now?
100%.
To a lot of young men, period, whether they are addicted to something or not?
100%. What I learned in treatment is still, 50% of the foundation of what I pass on to people that I coach, either one-on-one, in groups, or, really just in a basic conversation. So this morning, Mark and I went on a walk, which I loved, by the way. See, and
Couple 10-minute walks strung together.
a couple 10-minute walks. Walk through it.
We gotta change it.
and the reason I'm bringing that up is just to be honest and open with somebody that, he doesn't, I feel like I know him. Like I told you guys, I feel like I know you because I watch the podcast religiously. But just to be open and honest with somebody that you could bring that kind of spirit into the conversation, letting him know, oh, like something occurred to me that I was thinking of your mom. I've never met you, but I know your mom passed away. And I know, I remember what a big deal that was within your family. Like those little things about caring about somebody else, listening, how to open up, how to speak. These are things that everybody needs. These are things that everybody needs, especially how to start believing in something bigger than yourself, have a higher calling, just the foundational principles of how to be a good human, or the first 10 days of rehab.
The spirituality aspect, because there are many people who don't believe there's any sort of higher power and they're doing fine. There are some people who do believe in that. So what does spirituality and God look like, and what did that look like for you in rehab?
So let me go a little bit before.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I used to mock the idea of God, and it used to piss me off. And when my favorite athlete won a fight or caught a touchdown and they're thanking God and they're doing this whole thing in the end zone, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Really? God, that wasn't God running the route 500 times this week. And that wasn't God, you know what I mean? And would you thank God if you got intercepted?
Was there a reason it pissed you off at the time?
I think because I wanted to believe. And it just seemed so Disney World, Mickey Mouse, wish upon a star bullshit. It just seemed like, really? Like, really? You're going to thank God now?
You probably saw some of what your family did and the work that they put in. You're probably like, I don't believe that has anything to do with God. They
100%.
did the work. They found the right resources. They put in the hours. They then made the money. They then created the brand and passed it on from one generation to another.
Yeah. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps, all like, it's just,
and somebody else could look at it and say, I'm so grateful that this has been in my family heritage, and thank God it's been here the whole time,
Yeah, not me.
Right? Somebody can look at it a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I was wired where I was very cynical. And, it's really interesting I think that's the greatest gift that I ever got. The greatest gift was the wall that I had was so high and so thick, nothing could get through it. And then when I needed this power and I needed this spirituality and I needed this word God and how it came through in my life, to make a non-believer a believer is freaking huge. It's huge. So I came in cynical. I came in like, this is a bunch of nonsense. I came in like, oh, okay, so what, I think a happy thought like Peter Pan with Tinkerbell, you're going to give me and everything's going to turn out good. And when I started realizing a lot of those principles is, yeah. And we all teach it in different ways now about positive mindset, about personal development, about you know what I mean? But, this God thing, give me a break. Can I share your story of what really cracked the code real fast? Okay. Day 4 in rehab. I'm a Jew from Jersey, right, that now lives in Florida. I'm sitting across from a Catholic priest named Father Ron Bersha. Sweet, loving guy. He goes, Adam, do me a favor. Can you extend your arm out? So I extend my arm out, Mark. And he reaches out and he goes like this. He goes, do you see what I did there? So I'm looking at my arm. I look at the father, I'm like, Father, I'm sorry, I don't see anything. He goes, oh, okay. He does it again. He goes, Adam, do you see what I did that time? Now I'm uncomfortable. I start using, comedy when I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, Father, I'm Jewish. I don't know. Maybe there's a disconnect between you and I. He starts giggling. He does it again. He goes, do you see what I left on your arm that time? Now I'm like, okay, Father, I heard about you guys and little boys, right? Oh. He turns the lights off. All right. And he takes a UV light out and he puts it on my arm, and I see all of his fingerprints glowing in the dark room. And he goes, do you think that you could start believing in the power that you can't see, taste, touch, none of the 5 basic senses that has been all around you, guiding you, protecting you, and brought you here to me? And I'm watching all of these fingerprints glow. And I'm like, Father, I can believe. I can believe. And he turns the lights on and they all go away. And I think it's like a magic trick. I'm like, do it again, do it again, do it. And he does it again and the fingerprints are glowing. And this Catholic priest literally downloaded me into the matrix and made me start opening up and realizing, I don't know how all of this works. I don't know how we can FaceTime each other. I don't know that there are whales speaking underneath the ocean right now. Mm-hmm. There are planes flying over with using radar technology. They're not even really looking at where they're going. I have no idea how this show is going to truly be transmitted. Like this is like Star Wars.
Worst part is Andrew doesn't know either.
Once I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Right? Yeah. How does it? I don't even know how when you turn the lights on that it works. But there's a power greater than that's at work. And once I was able to open my mind, all these other things started making sense. I started becoming open. That's why I was trying to tell you about the work that you guys do. I love how open you guys are. You know what I mean? I've watched from a bodybuilding show to running.
He said, remember when we did the bodybuilding show?
Right? Like I was with you. Like I'm a part of it, right? Right? So we did a bodybuilding show mm-hmm. and then we did knees over toes and we did that flexibility thing that you're doing. And you guys, but you're very open. And I think that's the best definition you can give something. When you're open, so many things can come in. When you're closed, forget about God. You know what I mean? If I was still closed, I would still be 6 small meals a day, pre-workout, sleep wouldn't be that important, right? Like think about how many new ideas have happened. So being open is what really transformed me.
Were you mentioned you were Jewish, were you a practicing?
No.
Not even as a child. None of that when you were a kid? Because I'm curious about the way spirituality happened with your family and you growing up to, I don't know if now you're Catholic or exactly what you do now.
I consider myself a fulfilled Jew, meaning I believe Jesus was the Messiah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's those are my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
But I still love my Jewish faith. Mm-hmm. But having said, if you take all religious content, it's my mom's from Israel, the Holy Land. I would go there every year to see my family. Every year. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, as a cynical little boy, it's this place is smaller than the state of New Jersey. It's made out of stone. You know what I mean? The air conditioning doesn't work right. I miss cable television. I can't watch my cartoons. I'm this is the chosen place? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't wrap my head around all this spirituality, God mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
But I was bar mitzvahed, and I was taught the beauty of the Jewish religion without being religious. Mm-hmm. Growing up in New Jersey and New York, I gotta be honest with you, Christmas time just looked like more fun. Big Christmas tree and Santa Claus. We have no Santa Claus. We have a dreidel. Yeah, you know what I mean? Santa Claus is, come on, I want a Santa Claus,
But you get 8 crazy nights.
Yeah, thank God for Adam Sandler. Yeah. I was too old, you know what I mean? I was too old. We do get 8 crazy nights. And I'm just using the differences of religion and growing up because that was a great question. Mm-hmm. I wasn't pro-religion. I wasn't anti-religion. You know what I mean? I was definitely proud to be Jewish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I wasn't I wasn't wearing a Jewish star, and most people think I'm Italian anyway, and they don't really see what religion I am. But having said all of that with religion, my family now is just very grateful of how open I am spiritually. And we talk about things that are very deep and very meaningful. You know what I mean? I love the temple, but I love the Catholic Church. I love to be informed. Mm-hmm. I love to be informed. And I think the grateful thing that I have in my heart is that openness. It's just that openness. It starts with just opening your mind a little bit. But no, I really had no foundational, listen, in the bar mitzvah, I didn't even know what I was reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. I don't know what the hell I don't know what this means. So my relationship with whatever we want to call this, because I don't want to turn anyone off from the show either. It's fun. Like, so if you want to call it a higher power, God, spirituality, life force, whatever that is, I can tell you that my relationship with it now is sincere.
Yeah.
It's from here. It's from here. It's not like something I had to memorize.
At some point, you probably really needed to adopt it anyway, because you got isolated, you got put into rehab, and then you got thrown out on your ass, I think, too, by your wife, right?
Yeah.
And so the combination of those two things, you being by yourself, probably led you to like, I need to grab on something. So maybe it kind of forced you to be more open.
No doubt. I mean, that's probably the best part about rock bottom, right? Is when you could throw out all your old ideas and your old beliefs and whatever's keeping you stuck. Rock bottom is a great place to be like, I got no place else to go. You know what I mean? And my way got me here. Because honestly, I love this show so much because of how much it opens my mind in every area. That's one of the reasons I love the Power Project. It opens my mind. Like, for years, you have to understand, I thought it was 6 small meals a day. And I was brainwashed, you know what I mean? Or I brainwashed myself. And then for a while, we all did the same thing. And then Dorian Yates came around. And then it was like, oh, okay, wait, we're doing it wrong. It's one, then the bro split came.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's 2 or 3 warm-up sets and it's 1 max set, you know what I mean? And Arnold's ways for the birds, you know what I mean? And like to have a new idea was like, whoa, just to show you how my mind works. So to be open, it informs my fitness. It informs my nutrition. You know what I mean? Keto, vegan, whatever. Like it informs it. But most importantly, spiritually.
Yeah.
I'm open. I'm open to learn. I would like to hear what your beliefs are. I'd like to hear what your beliefs are. I like that I'm the sensitive guy that thinks about, Mark's mom or whoever you like. I like the fact that I feel like his mom, whoever you pass away, and my grandmother are right here. I may sound like a lunatic. I could care less. You can't prove that they're not here either.
Curious about this. When you got out of rehab, because you mentioned like the people that you worked with, all your friends, drinking was also part of their lifestyle. So when you come out of rehab, what did you do to stay out of alcohol, pills, etc.? Because if everyone you knew, that was the way they lived, it's hard not to go back.
Yeah, 100%. So I believe when anyone's getting into recovery, sober, or whatever recovery means to them, like a lot of my clients, sometimes it's not always 12-step full sobriety. Like sometimes they just really want to stop the pain pills and the pot, but they can have a glass of wine and it doesn't trigger alcoholism. And that was a very big thing for me to learn, by the way, that not everyone's recovery looks the same. That was something I had to open up to. But for me, I had to be all in. I had to attack this like I would attack anything. So it meant changing people, places, and things. It meant I would go to these meetings every day, sometimes twice a day. It meant reading this new literature. Like I was obsessed. The way we would be obsessed with anything that running.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the way hello. You know what I mean? The way you would get obsessed about something, it was the same way I was with my recovery. It was the only way it was going to work with me because that's how my mind works. So since I'm an all-in guy, if I half-assed my recovery, or if I did one of these meetings once a week and I read a little, it ain't going to last. But if I'm all in, it will, I was immersed. And the beautiful part about that is it was all the benefits I was getting, everything that was coming with it. I was looking better. I was feeling better. I was happier. Things that I used to mock, things that I used to like roll my eyes out made sense. I was what they say, happier, joyous, and free. I could have conversations with people. I was confident in my own skin. I could run the family business as well, if not better, than Joe Montana and Tom Brady. I had all these skills that came out that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could speak publicly. I didn't, me being the soft, sensitive guy that wanted to help people. And, it's kind of weird when you're growing up and you know, you show somebody a boxing move and your coach is like, why are you doing that? Or, you know, you wrap somebody up instead of laying him out and you're helping him up and your coach is like, Jablin, leave him on the floor. Let him get up himself. Do you know what I mean? What's wrong with you? You know? Well, now I have these skills that I could actually help people through this process and I'm getting rewarded for that. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. This was the best thing that ever happened. And now I'm on the Power Project with you. I'm on Mark Bell's Power Project. I'm in Sacramento. I don't know how I was telling Mark this morning, saying, I couldn't plan this if I tried.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not something that I had a vision. I had a strategy and, you know, I wanted to be in personal development. I wanted to be a sober coach and I was not even close. I was making schmatas. I was making lace. I was, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't plan this if I tried.
Yeah. Are you still working in that lacing business?
No. We sold it. We sold it.
Did?
Which is what gave birth to what I call my thing the Hero Project, which gave birth to my coaching. Mm-hmm. No, we sold it. It was time.
Okay.
It was time.
So you got yourself away from your addictions.
Yeah.
And kind of like what was going on at that point? Like you were trying to like I guess reimmerse yourself back into being a dad and being a I guess normal functioning person in society.
I tried. You know what I mean? I mean, this energy that I have now, I have all the time. So I tried. Okay. But it just, I had to finally become Adam Jablin for the first time, you know, for the first time maybe in my life. Not, you know, I have this guy's workout. I want this identity from this person. And I want to drive this car because that person drives this car, or you know, I want to look like Sylvester Stallone because I want to be Rocky. You know, I was becoming Adam Jablin for the first time, which meant it meant things had to change, and you know, a marriage that I was very proud of, and you know, 20 years that ended.
You said you were so oblivious that you didn't even see it coming.
I didn't see it. Yeah, that's my denial. I didn't see it coming. So there were a lot of shifts within our family dynamic. And, you know, I will always speak very, very highly of her. But the way she had worded it, and I understand that, was like, this is not what I signed up for. You know, there was a shift. The business was being sold. I was being called into this other realm of helping people. She did not want to have me known whatsoever. She didn't like the idea. Her biggest criticism and complaint of me was I'm too much. You know what I mean? I pray and I meditate and I'm running and I'm exercising and I'm helping people and I'm doing this with the kids. And it's like, you know, and it's a valid argument. And what I didn't see was I didn't see how far we had grown apart. And I was the guy that would say to you, you can make anything work. You can make it what, you know what I mean? If there's enough therapy and there's enough effort and there's enough, you can make it. Like, I'm that guy. You can make it. And what I had to learn was a very hard way was it's not true. Sometimes things come to an end. And so, you know, again, I'm always learning, guys. You know, I'm always learning. I was the guy that thought you can fight through anything, but it really takes two to tango. You need both people to really, really want it in the same way, in the same capacity. So I didn't see it coming because I'm the guy, Mark, that I feel like if you need something or if you need something and you can't do it, I can do it for you that day. I can do it for you. Don't worry. I got you. But eventually you have to realize that people need to do things for themselves. And you need to know where you stop and someone else's start. And that's been a hard lesson for me, even in coaching. You know, when I want something more than my client does, that's not good.
Yeah.
And that happens often.
Yeah. I know you mentioned you've made so many mistakes, but there's a lot of people that are warning men about the dangers of marriage and things to think about prior to getting married. And obviously you were married for a long time. You have multiple kids?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
You have 2 kids, right?
That I live for.
Absolutely. And obviously there's so many things that you maybe wish you could have changed. But if you were going to give somebody advice before getting married, a man, what would you tell
your
them?
Son?
Yeah.
Your son. What would you tell them?
That's great.
To think, what would you tell your son to think about prior to getting married to whoever he chooses to get married to?
It's a great question. So, can I be long-winded again?
Absolutely.
All right. So, my dad met my mom when she had just come from Israel to the United States. And she didn't speak a lick of English, not a lick. And he met there, and the chemistry there was obviously, lust at first sight and love at first sight. And they went out with a Hebrew-English dictionary.
Wow.
Yeah. And 3 weeks later, my dad proposed, and every single person warned him, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? You barely know this girl. You don't even speak the same language. She's from a different country. Are you nuts?" Every single person that warned him about this mistake is divorced. And my mom and dad are still together.
Damn.
So my advice to any young man, specifically my son, would be check your heart, check your mind, check your soul. If I did a good job raising you, that means you can trust how you're feeling in your gut. You can trust your heart. And if this is the one, give me a hug and a kiss. I can't wait to adopt her in the family. Because who am I to tell you? Who am I to tell you? But I'm not one of these guys that are anti-marriage. That I can promise you. I think it's a beautiful institution, and just because mine didn't work, I don't. Come on.
Well, yours did work for a period of time.
Yeah.
And you have 2 children from it.
Yeah.
So did it work or did it not work? Like it worked for a while, and then it turned out that you guys couldn't be together forever.
Yeah.
So what?
But I'm pro-marriage. I'm pro-marriage. I'm pro. But I think it's check your heart, check your mind, check your soul, right? And I got your back.
What would you say made your mother and father's marriage work for so long versus other people? What did you see that that you didn't see in other marriages?
The fact they couldn't communicate.
Maybe that's it.
It's like, forget it. I don't know how to tell them this.
Yeah, that's a great. Oh, I hope they watch this. God, that would make me so happy. I saw 2 people that really loved and supported one another. And I think the word I'd rather lean on is support one another. My mom really supported my dad's dreams, ideas, goals. Doesn't mean they agreed on everything. Doesn't mean that the household was always quiet and calm and Santa Claus every day. Obviously no Santa Claus, but they supported one another. And at the same time, my dad supported my mom in a way that as he even got more successful, he would financially take care of the family back in Israel. Mm-hmm. So I saw 2 people that at the end of the day, look, who doesn't love sex? Sex is delicious. It's wonderful. It's great. But at the end of it, no matter how good you are, take that. Like, I'm going to give you a full hour. Take that hour out of it, right? You had 23 more hours a day as a couple. At the end of the day, these 2 people had each other's back. And I think that's it. They had each other's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. What is your relationship been with your kids, since you've been able to, come out of the rehab and come out of your divorce and be a stronger person now?
So I want to make sure that I always honor my marriage and how that, but my ex-wife, and I understand too, I'm not making a case for her ideas and I'm not making a case against her ideas. And I think there's arguments on both sides, but she wouldn't allow me to tell my kids I was clean and sober. So my kids had no idea. Now, one of the benefits of that actually is that alcoholism addiction and 12-step meetings and all this stuff that comes with it, it wasn't in their life. They didn't have to think about it. You know what I mean? But it also came to a certain detriment because where is dad always going? Why is he always reading this literature? It was kind of like this big secret. So I just told my kids 2 years ago that I was clean and sober. But what it really did do was now that my daughter's 17, or maybe 3 years ago, now that my daughter's 17, my son's 13, it's opened up our conversation to really, really be like, I'm not just like this guiding figure that I'm really dad. They could talk to me what their friends are doing. They could talk to me what they're thinking about. I could I could warn them about, certain things that their bodies are maybe feeling. I could warn them about certain curiosities they could have, but without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made us that much. It made us rich. It made like a rich family inside our hearts. We could talk about anything. And by the way, you don't have to get clean and sober to be able to do that with your kids. It could be, I don't know if you've announced it, but it could be what you just went through with running.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it could be like, hey, sometimes when you push something too far, and let me tell you what happened to me. And if you're wired like me, I just want you to know what can happen.
Yeah.
But you don't have to get clean and sober to do that, but it's made our lives very rich. Always showing people my mistakes and my flaws and where I went wrong, and then showing them that I live to see another day and try to right it has made my life that much better. When I try to come in and be, don't worry about me, I got this under control, give you a wink, yeah, hey, you want the ball in my hands, that guy's is full of shit. That guy, you know what I mean? I'm human, I have flaws, I make mistakes, I'm sensitive, I sometimes care too much, but like you guys, I'm as consistent as the next guy. And I'll be there.
Do you think it's a little weird to be kind of like a personal development person, a self-help person, like a Tony Robbins, like some of these other people that are out there that you've maybe admired, from afar for years and years, and now you're somebody that's assisting people with these things?
It's a trip. It's a total trip. I could tell you that much. One of the things that I do, I was asking you this morning when Mark and I were on a walk. I love people. And to be somebody on that kind of platform, on that stage, for me is a privilege. But I still love, I asked Mark, who had he met somebody that he admired and looked up to, and they kind of lived up to the hype, or they stayed with him. And it was the original owner of Quest.
Yeah, Ron Penna.
Who I'd love to meet.
Mike O'Tren.
And Mike, and Mike O'Hearn for a kid in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was on the cover of like every other, and now watching what he's done on social media and just what he's done, period. I shouldn't say that. He's a daddy now, he's a husband. I shouldn't say on social media. Like what he's done. Mm-hmm. It's so admirable. But one of the reasons I asked Nancy, like I would love to have that conversation with you, is to answer the question of being on that stage. Is I love seeing what makes people tick. I love seeing what makes people tick, and what makes them human and what makes them great. One of the things I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. I think most of the world is, but still, what I loved about when he came back, the second three-peat after his dad had passed away, and he number 45, and his game wasn't as attacking, and now he developed that beautiful fadeaway. I love that idea that he was like, yeah, I may have gotten older, I may have a few chinks in the armor, but I'm still the best. Yeah, I love that. That's a turn on for me. You know what I mean? Like, so whatever happened, like when you do the Boston Marathon, I can't see what happens. And I love being able to be with you guys and study what's going on in your mind, how you guys operate. I'm not surprised, but I like seeing the harmony and how much everyone loves each other here. I'm not surprised by it, but you never know. I've been in places and I'm like, I thought they were this person, and the staff hates each other, and and he's not that nice behind when he's not on screen. I've witnessed that, so it's great to be on that stage. But I'm just so curious. My curiosity is what keeps me going.
Yeah. When it comes to like life now, I think you may have mentioned like you're 17 years sober, right? That means you don't drink anything at all.
Just to be really clear, I'm coming up on 17 years clean. So yeah, okay. July 4th. Yeah.
Okay, so you did mention sometimes people they'll allow themselves a little bit of alcohol here and there if they were they formerly had alcoholism, and it's okay for them. So for you now, do you ever feel any type of urges? Do you ever feel like, oof, that would feel kind of good? And if you do ever feel that, what does your mind do? What type of mental kung fu happens?
Absolutely, it happens. I think anyone that, first off, if that didn't happen, then what's the point in admitting that you're an alcoholic and an addict? Do you know what I mean? So it happened the other day. I was working with the client in Laguna. I'd never been to Laguna. It was gorgeous. The sun was setting, and my mind went to, boy, a glass of white wine would be really, really nice right now. That's where and to say that doesn't happen is a lie. And what I believe has happened is I programmed my mind so quickly that I don't entertain the thought. Like I laugh at the thought. And it goes quickly to how I destroyed myself. It goes quickly into playing that tape out. It goes quickly to how, without my recovery, I wouldn't even be here in Laguna. It goes quickly to a prayer. Like, really, like to a prayer. But it happened so quickly that everything I just discussed with you all happened within 10 seconds. The thought came in, oh, a glass of white wine would be nice at this moment. Then somebody starts laughing. Oh my God, do you know what you sound like? Then a quick prayer happens. So it's that training.
Would a sip? Let me ask you this too. So, for somebody who it's like they've been keeping a streak. Let's say it's been 3 years, it's been 5 years, it's been 8 years, and then they have a sip, right? That mentally, I wonder for certain people that could fuck with you so much, even if it literally is just a sip and then you're right back on, right? But does that, in the mind of someone who was formerly an addict, does that ruin things? Is it easy to get back on? Like, how does somebody handle that? And do you think there's any aspects of the idea of a streak? Do you think there's a dangerous aspect to that? Because I wonder, if you slip once and that, not using agent, but that's 16 years, it's just like, oh shit. What happens?
That's a great question. So obviously, it's going to be up to the individual.
Yeah.
I've had people, I know we call it like going out. That's what you'll hear in recovery a lot. They went out for a night. They went out for, sometimes they go out for a long time and then they come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing is to understand why you did it. And to understand that you obviously left the basics somewhere. You have to go back to the basics. It's to admit it, to get back on the horse. But also, I don't think it's to pretend like it didn't happen. Right? Like, oh, it didn't happen. You know what I mean? And there, the denial starts. Because then you're going to start playing with things. It's a very slippery slope. So I actually don't think there's any dangers in having a streak.
Okay.
Right. However, I also don't think it's good to have an ego with it at the same time. That's right. So it's good to have a streak. It's good to have 150 days running. It's good to have 100, it's great to have a streak.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that, look, my 16, almost 17 years of recovery does not define me. You know what I mean? It's what I'm doing today. It's how I treat people. It's how I show up. You know what I mean? And the reason I am the person I am today is because I've done this every day. The main thing I would want to say to that person is get back on the horse. Don't beat yourself up. Don't pretend like it didn't happen. But something, and I would use the word spiritually, something inside of you is off. And let's find out what it is. So it doesn't happen again. Because eventually, if they got away with one sip, guys, trust me. Like, if they have my mind, it's their mind's starting to go, well, maybe it's one glass. Well, we could share a bottle of wine. I mean, it's just that quick.
Yeah.
With you having teenagers, do you feel that things are shifting away from alcohol a bit? You feel like that with the younger audience that there's other alternatives out there that people are more curious about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, from what I've experienced in the East Coast, the kids, my children's age, alcohol is still there. I know there's like a mocktail thing going on, but no, alcohol is still there. White Claws and this and that, things that I mean, like, were,
Yeah.
I don't even know what these things are. You know what I mean? Like, what? But
hard seltzers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's for children. it's for babies. When I was growing up, having a pot dealer was a big deal, and there were stems and seeds and swag. And now you can go into a store and they have a specific strand for a specific feeling that you would like. And it's like going into an Apple store. You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely changed in that. And it's illegal, but it doesn't feel illegal. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't think a cop is going to, there are people away in prison for marijuana.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is the saddest thing in the world. I think a cop would just be like, no, give me that and go home. And, there's also this huge movement, which I am not pro nor against, of ayahuasca and DMT and psychedelics. I'm not for it nor against it. I have taken psychedelics before I got clean and sober. I can tell you, I think it enhanced my feeling of understanding that there is a power greater than myself and that there are other dimensions out there. So I think those experiences I had actually helped me. I am afraid of kids doing it. I'm really afraid of
somebody
kids
with
doing
an
it.
underdeveloped. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I know of a kid in my daughter's school that got his hand on, guys, I don't even know the name of this stuff anymore, but like basically a pen that has DMT in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to, I don't want my kids on some DMT trip right now.
Is that
I don't
kid
know if they
all
can
right?
take that.
Is that kid you heard of all right? Or?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I've heard, and edibles, and it's just a different world.
Yes, it is.
It's a different world. So I think try not to change it, be a part of it, be a good dad, be open. I don't stand on a pedestal, but some of the stuff that they're doing now is definitely scarier, in my opinion.
Yeah, just maybe alcohol. At least it's been around a long time, and people have been drinking it for for a really long time. People have been very drunk off of it for many, many years, right? So.
I'm about to be pro alcohol. Yeah. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Damn it!
It's like steroids, right? Steroids.
Well, we wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for alcohol.
It's in the-
It kept us alive for many years.
100%.
The water was dirty.
You see where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't whip out this bourbon right now.
Yeah.
Get that party started. When you were talking about some of your protocols when you were drinking, it just kind of opened up a weird trip down memory lane for myself. I remember I would get fired up when I'd see certain friends at parties because I knew that they were a little bit worse than me, which meant that they were walking around with Tums in their pocket. And so we would drink and then take a couple Tums to help with the acid reflux. It started becoming a game where it was a joke, or it's like, hey, Tums Crew or whatever it was, but it was a lot of fun in that moment because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get drunk and I'm not going to really feel that acid feeling like in a couple of hours. It was stupid, but it was fun. So when you're talking to people and they're saying like, I don't know if I can have fun without drinking though, what's your advice for them?
So, by the way, that was really good, right? Because that's like a rite of passage in a way. So hopefully, when I'm with the person, we're gonna pretend like they've pushed this really, really far, right? Like it's not high school, and you know what I mean. Like I don't want to act like it's some kid and it's his third time drinking a Coors Light. And now I come in and they haven't even had a 21st birthday. And now I'm supposed to explain to them that it's better without it. Like I need them to have a certain amount of pain and a certain amount of consequences first. Yeah. Right. So we can at least have a real conversation. But man, then I let them know how sweet it is on the other side, and explain to them what that looks like. And the other thing is you have to speak the person's language, so if Nsima had a problem, and he wanted to talk to me, I'm not going to be talking to him about the ballet or Russian use common language. Okay, like he's fit. He likes fitness. He loves MMA. He loves, I just learn about the client, and make it relatable of the things that they're not doing, that they're really not enjoying because of their addictions. And build that common, I know you love this. Have you really been doing it? Have you been performing at your best? Show them what's on the other side and then explain to them what you do. Do you know what I mean? Between, the people, the experiences that I get to have and the people that I've got to meet that I always wanted to meet that never would have happened if I didn't have my recovery. And, skydiving sounded great when I was drinking, but I never really did this stuff. You know what I mean? It just sounded great. You know, running a marathon sounded great when you're drinking. But I mean, you know, that means you have to train for a marathon and run almost every day. And that I wasn't doing. I was hungover. So you find the common language of what their goals are, you know, try to make a compelling future for them and then show them what they're really letting go just because of this.
I am curious what you said about like maybe if they haven't even had their 21st birthday, because like I started drinking young too. I believe I was 16 the first time I got arrested for drinking. So
Nice.
Well, it wasn't in that moment. I wish somebody did come in and talk to me about it. I mean, like obviously my parents were upset, but and I don't want to make them sound bad, but I don't remember them even telling me not to drink. They just were really upset with me. And that led to I just never stopped drinking until I was 27. But I'm curious why you said that maybe wait till they're 21 or like let them experience a little bit more, I guess, trauma.
It's a great, so can I break that into two different
Absolutely.
parts?
Do you take all the time you need?
Look, first off, we could always say that blanket statement that your parents were doing the best they could with what they had, right? Now, having said that, if I were your mom and dad, or I was your dad, I would be having a different conversation with you where there would be warnings, you know what I mean? I would be explaining to you some of the downfalls of your choices and where this can go from my experience. But we can't take somebody's journey away from them with scare tactics. It doesn't work.
I see.
It just doesn't work. You know what I mean? And even if you did, that curiosity will still be there. It will still be there. So in my opinion and what I've seen, doesn't mean I'm not open to learning new strategies. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy. I'm not, I have all the answers and that's why I'm on the show. No. Like if you have a suggestion, I'm open to it. But what I have experienced and what I've seen is that if you rob them of that, they're going to be too curious and they're going to go back. So be open. Imagine if something lifting or training, like be open, warn. Hey, you know, these are the things that can happen. Keep an open vessel, keep an open line of communication, but trying to scare them that day to be clean and sober, it's not going to work.
That makes sense.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah. What about the old saying that you can't help somebody that doesn't want help? I feel like it's a little bit of a cop out because it's sort of like an easy way to say,
what's his problem?
He's just going to pee. He's bored now. He's just going to the bathroom.
Okay.
Going to the loo.
I just feel like it's kind of like a cop out to like just like, he doesn't want help, so I'm not going to go through the all the extra work to help them. Do you see what I'm getting at here, or do you think that somebody genuinely does need help or need to want to be helped in order to receive it?
No, I'm with you. I listen, I did not want to be intervened. I did not want to stop drinking. I did not want to stop doing drugs. I just wanted, I believe that you can help. Now, you can overstep your boundary or you can try to help to a point that it's unhealthy and it's making the situation worse. But no, I'm all about going in and trying to help.
You know, as a parent that you've dealt with alcohol and it has hit you differently, how did you communicate or how are you communicating with your kids to let them know that, hey, I've dealt with this with alcohol. It might hit you differently than it does your friends. The reason why I ask this is because like there's a certain mental illness that I have seen in my family. So I know when I have kids, I have to warn them about certain things, right? So how are you communicating with them about that? And how, like, are you scared of them experiencing alcohol if they already have? Or
I do exactly what you just did. I've spoken to both of my children and explained that there is a genetic component to alcoholism and addiction, and they may have the gene. We don't know. And that they have to be more aware than their friends. But exactly like you said, but to not tell them would be terrible.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because why are they the ones that can't turn it off at night? Why is it at 1:30 everyone's done and one of my kids still wants to keep going? Why is it affecting them differently? You know, I'm going to butcher this, but for someone like me, when I take a drink, and somebody can chime in and say you said that out of order or whatnot, but it goes down my throat, into my stomach, through my kidneys, my pancreas, my liver. The liver breaks down the alcohol, sends acetones to my brain, and what's sparking in my brain, it literally says to me, this is good. I'm in control. I want more of this. Where somebody we love may have a glass of wine and it goes through the whole system into the liver, sends signals up to their brain, and the signals are saying, ooh, I feel a little woozy.
Stop.
Ooh, yeah. I'm tired. I probably shouldn't drive like this. I need to, so if I say it just like that, just from a physical standpoint, and I warn the kid, like, so you may be wired like me. It's not personal that way. It's not like you can't control it. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you listen? It's just, this is how our bodies are made up.
Yeah.
Some people cannot break down fats. Some people can, right? Well, our bodies does not break down alcohol the same way as other people.
Power Project family, how's it going? Hope you're enjoying the episode. And this episode is brought to you by Merrick Health, the premium telehealth clinic from Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Now, if you've been wanting to get your blood work done, or if you wanted to get your blood work analyzed by a physician, Merrick has your back on that. And Andrew, can you tell them how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys know exactly what labs you want to get, you guys can load them all up into your cart, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off all labs. But if you're like me and you're not sure exactly where to start, you guys can get the Power Project panel. You guys can head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject, and you guys will see a whole panel of like over 26 different labs, everything from head to toe that you're going to need to know what's going on under the hood. And again, to get in on that, head over to merrickhealth.com/powerproject, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off of that entire panel. Links to them and all the information down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
What does sobriety mean for you? Like, have you, are there you mentioned psychedelics and stuff. Some people want to try to abstain from like everything when they're trying to go sober. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
So I don't ever want to lie. This whole new ayahuasca DMT thing, it's not that does it spark my interest. But guys, I know me, I'll be doing an ayahuasca trip every 3 days, I'll be, so, my recovery had to be total, and it's just because of the way I'm wired. Okay. But, I don't judge anyone else's recovery. I really, really don't. And that took me a little while. But when I started realizing I know people that have gotten sober, by the way, from an ayahuasca trip and doing these things.
Really?
Swear to God. I know that it literally helped them get sober. And I was speaking, I hope this is okay. Maybe you could edit it out if it's not, but I was speaking to your brother. And he did something called ibogaine, and he was like, it really, really helped him. I have no judgment on anyone else's protocol. Like but for me, being clean and sober means being clean and sober. And I have to, I know myself. I know my makeup.
Is that category like drugs that are illegal, or like, because where do you draw the line? There's like cigarettes. There's
I don't get crazy. No. I don't listen. No.
It's just whatever you think you might have a problem with. You're going to disdain from that.
I mean, Mark, I first off, just to show you how bad I am, I still can't believe you're on a cup of coffee that we got. I downed that thing in 3 minutes when we were together. That was so amazing. Good. What was that?
Phil's
oatmeal cookie.
Yep.
God, is that delicious?
So, like, are you careful with caffeine?
No.
No? Okay, I'm just curious if like you just
No. And I'm not saying that one day I won't grow into that, and I may have to grow to be the guy that can have caffeine. But no. Look, I used to make it really simple. Like, no one's really going to pull me over for, drinking a cup of coffee and driving. And look, this is where I'm at in my recovery.
Yeah.
And I'm usually helping people, I life coach as well, but I'm usually helping people that this thing's really, really hurting them. And I don't want to start getting into what's a drug, what's not a drug. Like, look at me, like, you think I'm the guy to tell you that? Like, do I look like I'm the one that that? I try to make it like really, really simple.
Yeah.
And if the person, they want to stop drinking, Mark, but they're going to have some coffee and cigarettes, go right ahead. I could care less. Eventually, I'm sure they're going to want to, wean off the cigarettes. But
Definitely.
you know what I mean? But like, let's really address the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I do not want to be the judge for anyone else at all. I actually watched, this is not a personal story that he told me, but I watched that Tony Robbins took the toad, that Mike Tyson was taking.
Oh yeah, the DMT thing.
Yeah, because he wanted to help. His purpose of trying it was because he wanted to be able to relate to people and help people that were near death. You know what I mean? He had a purpose for trying. He hasn't done it a million times, but like, am I now going to be the guy to be like, well, Tony Robbins did a drug? Like, I'm just not that guy.
How did you figure out that like you wanted to shift to helping people with all of this into what you're doing now?
And see, it's a really, I always had it in me. I didn't know what it was. It made me feel very sensitive as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it. It made me feel feminine, to be honest. And I'm not a feminine guy, but it made me feel feminine, this thing about caring about other people and wanting to help other people and not wanting other people to suffer or wanting to show people there's a better way of doing things. I always had that. And when I entered recovery, it was like I found a place that all of my skills and all of my character and all of my emotional makeup made sense. If there's a place that finally made sense, like I can
You're
help.
like finally a group of people talking about their feelings.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
That abuse themselves with overdoing things.
Now they have to talk about it.
I'm home. I'm home. And I started realizing how good I was at it, and not like, oh, look at me. Like, many, many people would ask me to help them. And I started getting phone calls, my son has a problem. My wife has a problem. Can you come talk? Right. And it was, look, now I'm almost 17 years clean sober. It was a slow transition. This didn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went into coaching and helping people professionally, I had been doing it for so long. You know what I mean? Just not professionally.
Yeah.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I was telling Mark too, like I'm open, I invest in myself. I learn from other coaches. I want to figure out ways to just become better. But this thing about helping another soul, it's just in me.
Did you notice, because you've been doing this for a while, but during COVID, did you have a spike of people that were reaching out to you? Because alcohol seemed to be something that a lot of people built the habit of during and post-COVID.
I actually think during COVID is where like my name kind of rose through the ranks. You know what I mean? So that was a great question. Yes. During COVID, the phone was off the hooks and the emails were coming in and, the Instagram thing was flooded and it was a tough time for people.
Yeah.
Good for business.
Being a life coach, especially with like people maybe in the family kind of knowing about it and friends, are they like, oh great, he's gonna like, I don't want to talk to him or open up to him because he's gonna judge everything that I'm about to say.
God, I hope I don't make people feel like
Just like turn the other way. I see at the grocery store, like, oh
God, here's Adam with that stupid energy of his.
They have fucking beer in their cart and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like writing it down.
Good to see you too, Adam. Yeah, it's a sunny day. We got it. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. I think I had that before. You know what I mean? And that's also why I always try to start with my flaws. You know what I mean? Because I really would hate for anyone to see me and for me to give this impression that I feel like I walk on water. Do you know what I mean? What I did was I made a bunch of mistakes, like a ton of them.
Yeah.
Worse than they can, and I found the way out. You know what I mean? I don't even I hate the term life coach, by the way. I think it's the most saturated field. I hate the term. You know what I mean? But I wish I could find a better term. I played with it. Recovery mentor. You are what you are. You know what I mean? But what I am is a guy that like, hey, you're in a dark hole. Mm-hmm. I have a flashlight and I found the way out. Come on. Just trust me. And that's the hard part. Trust me. Put your hand in my hand. I know the way out. I know the way out of this hole. And but once I have their hand, all bets are off.
How do you get clients and how do you get attention? in that space?
Yeah. So social media has been nothing for me but an asset. You know, it's just a way of putting my ideas out there. It's a way of attracting the clientele that I enjoy. I would say majority of my high-end clients, it's definitely word of mouth. It's, hey, this guy helped me. This guy helped my son. This guy helped my husband. This guy helped my wife. And then the social media aspect kind of validates who I am. And then there was a bunch of time that I was, and it still happens, where I was asked on the news. So from ESPN to Fox News. And I think one rep at a time, you know, be it even, believe it or not, even being on Mark Bell's Power Project, these things do when you're really trying to help people is it establishes you that what you're doing is making a difference in people's lives. So they can find you in different areas, be it the news, social media, word of mouth. But for me, majority of my high-end clients, the ones that I spend a lot of time with that are really, you know, they pay the bills, let's say, put it that way or whatnot. That's been, you know, I've been passed from this person to this person. And this is how it happened with the sports teams. I wasn't writing letters out saying, hey, you know, I'm Adam Jablin. I'm a recovery expert. I would love to speak to you. It was, I did really good work here. Somebody told this person, you know, I get an email and this thing happened really organically.
You know, I had a friend in the past who alcohol was clearly a problem for her. She'd black out a lot, led her to a lot of bad decisions, led her to just a lot of shit happened to her because of alcohol use. And whenever I would try to bring that up, I would try to do it in the nicest way because I knew that bringing that up would make her angry. She would always say she never had a problem, even though she did. So she wasn't receptive. And if you have someone that you care about, who you're trying to get them to see what's going on and trying to get them to find some help, but they're non-receptive, what can you do? Do you continue? Do you back off? What do you do? Do you have to let them hit rock bottom? Because that would suck, but do you have to let them?
Well, it sounds like you already made, let's use this example specifically, right? Because each one is different. So you've tried multiple times.
Yeah.
Right?
I no longer know this person anymore, but like that, yeah.
Right. So sometimes it comes to a point where you're saying like, look, I can't condone this behavior. You know, I love you. When you're really ready to talk and really ready to take a look at this, I'm going to be here. Until then, you know, I'm going to have a little space because I can't be around you and be a fraud. You know, so imagine it was, let's just try to make it personal. Imagine it was Chris and Chris was doing blow all the time. Like, you know, eventually, right? And there's the kids, right? And Mark has kids. And, you know, eventually you're going to have to say, listen, I love you. You're my blood. I would do anything for you. I've warned you several times about this. I've warned you several times. Until you're ready to take a look at this, like I can't be around you. Can't let the kids be, whatever it is. But you have to, the honesty is the hardest part about this, man. It really is. But that boundary could save their life.
Yeah.
That boundary, that thing that you're saying, look, it's not okay, can save their life.
You were in the middle of writing a book, and a friend of yours said something to you, and it pissed you off. Can you share that with us?
Sure. Oh, God.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's good, right? So I'm working really hard. I'm working with great clients, writing the book, and I'm going through the divorce. And the way I don't like to always feel my emotions and my emotional pain. So I'm going here and I'm going there and I'm helping this person, I'm helping that person, and you name it. And he looked at me, he goes, why don't you become the hero of your own life and slow down? I wanted to break his face into, like, I was like, really, motherfucker? Really? Yeah? Really? Okay. And I wanted to attack anything that I saw in him. Any, you know what I mean? Any little blemish in his marriage or how he, right? But I didn't do it. Thank God I had enough, emotional control that and then 48 hours later, I realized, he's right. He's right. You know what I mean? I'm really not addressing how much emotional pain I'm in. It helped me go back to therapy, because divorce is hard. Divorce is hard. You know, you're with somebody for that much amount of time. Now they're not in your life. It's not working. You're seeing your kids less. And my way of my way of putting up with that is let me keep myself busy rather than really feeling and processing what was going on. So it's a gift that he gave me, even though I wanted to kill him. But it was a gift because now it's also helped me help people with divorce. Every bad thing that's happened to me, guys, has only enhanced my way of helping people. That's really what my life has come down to. All of my mistakes have really helped me become a better person to help people accomplish their dreams.
People seem to be depressed. People seem to have a lot of anxiety. What are some recommendations or things that you think could be helpful to get people to, get to a place where they're more comfortable with those things, where they're able to address some of those things and to just have less anxiety and be maybe less depressed?
Yeah, this may be so redundant, especially here on the Power Project, but the basics are there for a reason. So it really is move a muscle, change a thought, go for a walk, call somebody and share it with one person. Because, when we share something, we cut it in half. If you had a problem and you share it with me, now we're both holding it. Right? Now I'm holding the canoe too. Look into spirituality, whatever that may mean to you. Just look into something that could enrich your life. It could be New Age if you want. It could be The Secret and stuff like that. It could be religious. It could be just sitting down and praying and meditating, or looking at a tree and realizing that tree was there before you and the tree will be there after you. So you can start thinking of things outside of your own thoughts. A meditation practice, drink more water, eat better foods. But the basics will always help. And also, if something's, I actually think the word depressed is thrown around way too much, right? I think people get tendencies to get sad and they don't like the feeling of being sad, and they throw the word, like, depressed is a real thing. You may need medications, you may need an SSRI, you may need to talk to somebody, but depression used to be like, you could be locked in home for a while and not see the light of day. So always stick with Mark. I'm a big believer in sticking to the basics, reaching out and making a phone call or even a text when you don't want to. That's the hard part. Saying it's easy, but literally just like, hey, mom, so stick with the basics. Eat better foods, move a muscle, change a thought, drink more water, look at something spiritual, do something for somebody else, get out of your head. You know what I mean? I turned that into an addiction, obviously, but do something for somebody else. Get out of your head. Pick up the groceries. Return the shopping cart. Like, just something to build your self-esteem.
Do you think if you weren't helping people currently, do you think it would be harder for you not to fall back into your former addiction?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think it may not be drinking and it may not be drugs, but my addictive mind would go someplace that I don't think is necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
Let me try to use a good example. I can read David Goggins' book and want to run 300 miles, okay? But I don't like looking at the end of the book when he says, by the way, I ended up in a hospital for 3 months, and I really suggest, I'm trying to motivate, inspire the people that need a little inspiration and motivation. I didn't write this for Mark Bell, because Mark will literally run himself into the hospital like I did. You know what I mean? That's what I have to be careful of. I have to be careful of me overdoing things that would end up hurting myself, because I'm an all-in guy. That's where I'm more comfortable. I'm more comfortable when I'm all into something. But to sit back, relax, enjoy, stop and smell the roses, it just sounds exhausting. You know what I mean? It's like, sounds boring, but that's really what life's about.
So being all in on trying to help people is how you is something that you find fruitful and helpful. 100%.
100%. It's helped balance me out too. And it makes me it makes me feel good. So, and I'm an addict.
Yeah.
I like to feel good.
Yeah.
So by the way, I think I told all of you, I've passed a few of your shows along to some of my clients. I think there's a mission statement probably behind the Power Project, which is this is not just to entertain you three. You know what I mean? You guys are doing a service and helping us out there in the audience. There's something about doing it that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
You're giving out wonderful information. You're willing to show yourselves that you're human, that you'll try new things. Like, those Jefferson curls?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know how anti that is the way we grew up?
Yeah.
To curl your back that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? Really, really helped me. That movement. So there's something about what we're doing that I know you guys get that really, really helps. It really helps. And without that, I don't know if I'd fall back into addiction or alcoholism, but I'd overdo something. Trust me.
Yeah.
Take us on out here, Andrew.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Make sure you guys hit up powerproject.live for everything podcast related and drop those comments below. Let us know what you guys think about today's conversation. Hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
Discord's down below at Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. I'm seeing Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Where can people find you, Adam?
On Instagram at Adam Jablin, Facebook at Adam Jablin, basically at Adam Jablin.
Cool.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Boom.